So I've been having this Pixel 6 Pro for about a month now, and I want to tell you guys the top 5 things I love and the top 5 things that I hate about this phone so far. Let's go ahead and get into it. So the number one thing that I love about this phone, and I've loved it since I saw the renders the first time months and months ago, is the design of the phone, especially the camera design. I feel like over the last few years, everybody's gotten pretty much used to putting the 4 or 5 cameras up in the top left corner, and that being it. I'd like to see some things that have changed, and this like visor look looks really, really good. On top of that, I love the curved edges. A lot of people don't like curved edge phones. In this case, it doesn't provide a ton of extra functionality, but it looks and it feels absolutely amazing. So that's why I love curved edges. It really gives me like Note 10, Note 10 Plus vibes with how the phone is with the curves on the edges. And that moves me on to my first hate. The first thing I hate about this phone, and hate is kind of a strong word, so I'll, just some of these are a little bit nitpicky, but most of them are things that are just things that I've noticed over the course of me using this phone so far. So the first thing I hate about the phone has got to be how slippery it is. You definitely have to get a case on this phone, and that's not the only reason you need to get a case on this phone, but we'll be getting into that later. But the slipperiness of this phone, you will be scared that you're going to drop it every single second that you have it out of the house. I know when I first got the phone, I didn't get the case the very first day. So I pretty much just kept it in my pocket until I was either sitting down in the car or at home. So yeah, it is definitely a very slippery phone. So go ahead and just factor in the price of a case the day you buy the phone, because you're definitely going to need one to keep it from slipping out of your hand. So the next thing that I love about this phone is the camera. We all know at this point that Google makes very good cameras on their phones. We've seen it in every previous Pixel. They always seem to blow a lot of competition out of the water. And this year, they finally got an upgrade on the actual hardware that's on the camera. I'm going to throw up a few sample photos, videos, so you guys can get an idea of what the camera quality is like. So the next thing that I hate about this phone is the poor viewfinder quality and the flash speed on this phone. If you take a picture and you turn on the flash, it is insanely slow. Like, I mean insanely slow. Like, you literally have to just sit there and wait for the flash to come on, stay on for a few seconds, end it, and then it's got to do the little processing thing, which doesn't take very long. But the entire process of taking a picture with the flash is insane. Like I was saying about the viewfinder quality is terrible. I know I saw a few other YouTubers talk about the viewfinder quality. It is terrible, especially on the front camera. It looks absolutely awful before the processing is finished, and it does this weird like thing. And I'm going to show you so you can see exactly what this looks like. But it looks super weird. The finished photos look awesome, but it feels like sometimes you really have to like guess what your picture is going to look like. 9 times out of 10, it's a pretty good picture, but it's just while you're looking at it in the viewfinder, it does not hold up to that standard. And the next thing that I love about this phone is the battery life. The battery life on this is really good, and I'm an extremely heavy user. Now, pretty much no phone ever has got me through a full day simply because of the amount of TikToks I watch, gaming and YouTube videos, and I always have to have max brightness, and I also have to have like max loudness. Like, everything has to be turned up to 100% whenever I use any phone. So no phone really gets me through an entire day, especially if it's an off day. Maybe if I'm at work, that'll be a different story because I'm not using it as much. If you're just texting, lightly surfing the web, maybe a few TikToks, it's definitely easily going to push you maybe even past a full day of usage. Battery life is absolutely awesome on this phone. You do have to take into account, though, that it does have that smart battery setting that's pretty much using the Tensor chip and the AI that Google set up to pretty much learn your habits, learn what you use, what you don't use, and, turn off background tasks. It's doing a lot of smart stuff in the background so it can improve battery life. And you definitely notice it after like a week or two using the phone. When you first get it, the battery life is like subpar. It's not terrible, but it's like subpar. And once it kind of adjusts to you, then it's really good. Okay, now the next thing that I hate about this phone is a serious hate. It's the only thing that I really hate about this phone. Like, all of the other things are things that like, but this I really, really hate, and it actually hurt my soul when I figured it out after I bought the phone. So I'm not entirely sure because I'm like getting some mixed messages. I'm not sure if Google themselves advertised this phone to charge at 30 watts, but it does not charge at 30 watts. I know that the block that they sell is 30 watts, which, it's priced pretty good, so I'm not really like complaining about it too much, but the fact that this phone can only charge at a maximum of 23 watts is insane, especially considering this is like one of the biggest batteries in any phone right now. And it's insane. It takes you more than 2 hours to get a complete charge. And on top of that, when you're using the phone, it significantly decreases the speed that it's throttling the battery because of so much heat buildup. But if you're using the phone, especially if you're using it heavily, it's not going to charge very well at all while you're using the phone. Your best bet is to let it charge up when you're not using it if you want it to get it to charge as fast as it can. I'm just extremely disappointed in Google for this move, especially considering that, in this day and age, the iPhone is charging fast. The iPhone 13 Pro Max is charging faster. I think it's 27 watts, which isn't a huge bump, but I don't think there's any point in my life where I want to see the iPhone doing something that I've, praised Androids for better than the Android phone that I'm using, especially when it's Google's own phone. You know how much people value fast charging. Why sell a 30-watt charging brick if the phone can only charge at 23 watts? And why at all would you have I think it's like 5,003 milliamp hours. Why would you have that charge at 23 watts? It's an extremely long time. Battery life kind of balances it out, but I'm the type of person, I go to sleep watching stuff on my phone, so I usually wake up and my phone's dead. I don't like to have the charger in the bed with me or, next to me. I may fall asleep watching anime or whatever it may be. I need to be able to wake up in the morning, put my phone on the charger for 30 minutes, and it be fully charged. My S20 FE charges faster. My S21 Ultra charges faster. Or my S20 FE and my S21 Ultra charges faster. And it honestly just, it baffles me that in this day and age with the battery technology that's out, and we've seen other competitors use, especially, I've seen $600-700 phones charge at 45, 66 watts. I just think it's unacceptable. And just like I said, it's the one true thing that I hate about this phone. So the next thing I love about this phone is the performance. In this day and age, and a phone at this price point, and it being a flagship phone from Google themselves, nobody really expected it to perform terrible, bad. I don't have like some super like benchmark numbers. I really don't use those too much. Pretty much just using the feeling of the phone. It feels just as fast, if not faster in some tasks than the S21 Ultra. I don't really have any problems with performance, which pretty much moves me on to my next hate. My next hate is temperature. Now, I've been seeing posts everywhere, Reddit, just all types of different forums, YouTube videos. This phone has a problem, and I'm hoping that this gets rectified with some type of software update. Maybe it's doing something in the background it's not supposed to do. So the phone seems to get randomly hot for no reason at all. Like, I'll be doing, like, I wouldn't say that they're super aggressive. Like, I'll be scrolling through TikTok. Something that's not super, power hungry, at least not in my use case, using my S20 FE and my S21 Ultra. And the phone will just randomly get hot. Even sometimes I'll just be scrolling through Chrome, and the phone will get extremely hot for no reason at all. And that's what I was talking about earlier, when this is another reason you're going to need a case, at least until, this problem is addressed or solved. This phone gets really hot. And if you guys have one and it doesn't do this random like hotness, let me know in the comment section down below. That way I can, try to trade this in and get a different one. But from the reports I'm seeing, I'm not the only phone that's having this. I'm not the only person with this phone that's having this issue. But it doesn't affect performance too much. Like, I don't really see too much of a degradation in performance, which is kind of crazy because the phone gets really hot, but it still seems to operate really well. Another thing with that temperature thing, once that phone starts to get really hot, and like I said, sometimes it happens when it's not even doing like intensive tasks. When it gets that hot, it will severely kill your charging. Like, I was like door dashing, and door dashing, I do a lot of intensive tasks. Like, I do, your GPSing, streaming music, connected to Bluetooth, all of these things at one time. And this phone gets hot, and like I said, performance still performs pretty well, surprisingly, even with the heat. And I got the case, so I really wouldn't have to feel that heat on top of the, slipperiness that I talked about earlier. Anyway, pretty much once it's in that state, and like I said, I've door dashed plenty of times, 6-7 hours of door dashing, and I would be at the point where, of course you need to charge your phone. So I would plug the phone in, and it basically wouldn't charge. It would say it was charging, but it would go like 1% in like 30, 40 minutes of, driving. Whereas with the S21 Ultra, the S20 FE, even like I have an old Pixel 2 XL does not have that issue. I think it's something to do with the smart battery. I turned off like the not the smart battery or adaptive battery part, but the part that charges it slowly overnight or while you're doing something. I turned that off. Still doesn't rectify the issue. Same thing with the heat issue. I saw people saying turn the max brightness down. That doesn't really help. Of course, try to use less intensive tasks. Like I said, it's just some random occasions that it happens, but it doesn't really affect how much I want, how much I like the phone so much. It's just one of those things that's kind of irritating simply because the case kind of masks the heat, so I'm not really too worried about the heat, and it still performs well, so that's not an issue. The charging, which overall, like I said, is just terrible. I don't understand that now 2022, actually, I don't even know why I said 2021. Now in 2022, there should not be an Android phone, especially not one made from Google, one that was highly anticipated. The first redesign, the first Google hardware, the first Google chip, new cameras, all of these different things all summed up to one thing that you can't even change about the phone that kind of sucks. 2 hours to fully charge the phone is kind of absurd. And it's not even the full time that it takes to charge, because I mean, there are other phones that are close to that, but it's the amount of charge that we could get in those 30 minutes that we throw in the charger. I can't even, after 30 minutes, I'm like at 32, 33%, maybe 36%. Whereas like on the S21 Ultra, after 30 minutes, I'm like, more than halfway charged. So it's just one of those things, but let's move on from that. The next and last thing I love about this phone is the smart features. Now, some of the stuff I turn off simply because I like to do a lot of things myself. It's just like, my schedule's super weird, so I can't really have the phone doing things for me all the time. But some of the things that it suggests, like I know I was using the phone for about 3 or 4 days, and I'm the type of person who sets up my home screen so that pretty much the apps that I use on a daily basis or constantly use are always on the front screen. I just bring them to the home screen. And pretty much everything that it's like, maybe I'll use it today, maybe I won't, I leave those in the app drawer. Now, a thing that I always do is whenever I open the app drawer, I will just go straight into the keyboard because I don't really need to search for it. I can just type it in, or I don't need to scroll for it. I can just type it in. So after about 2 or 3 days of doing this, and I'm not sure if it's like some pre-programmed or it kind of recognized I was doing it. I'm still not sure, but on like the 3rd or 4th day, it asked me, would you like your phone to continue doing this action? And it was basically asking me if I wanted, every time I open the app drawer, for my phone to go ahead and start the searching process, meaning opening the keyboard, and so I can go ahead, like, so as soon as I open up the app drawer, the keyboard pops up and I can just go ahead and type whatever it is that I'm searching. Now, it was a little weird at first because I had to get used to the fact that I was so used to pressing the search bar that I would just double tap it again. But the fact that it can do things like that is really, really cool. And I think it speaks a lot to the future of, using mobile devices. And the last thing I hate about the Pixel 6 Pro, and this is not just the Pixel 6 Pro, it's pretty much the Pixel 6, any Pixel, honestly, why they have all of these great camera advancements. And I know the name of the game with Google is AI and all of the processing that they can do, blah, blah, blah. That's all cool. I love that. But the thing about Android that I've always loved is the fact that you can pretty much customize everything and, make it do it your way, basically. Unlike an iPhone, or some other type of phone. But why is there no pro camera mode? Samsung has it. Pretty much the main rival in the Android space anyway. I'm not really going to talk about iPhone, but in the Android space, Samsung is their pretty much, I would say, #1 rival as far as like selling and using Android devices. Why is there no pro camera mode? That really upsets me. The fact that I have this awesome hardware, this awesome camera, this awesome processing, but I cannot use it in a pro mode. I have to download like Filmic Pro, which is not like a super issue because I like I already paid for Filmic Pro and I like the features that it comes with. But the fact that, I can't use those features standard, I don't like the fact that it's just small things like that. That's one of the big ones, but there's also other little small things like the way that they set up the new Wi-Fi toggle. Right now, the Wi-Fi toggle and the internet toggle is one, so you tap it and you get the Wi-Fi and the internet options. I wish there was like some sort of option to split that, and just little things like that. I feel like they're moving more in the way of you know, we're gonna do it this way, when I don't think it would be too much of an issue to add something that's like a toggle, or at least ease us into it. Honestly, we went from, you know, Android 11 to 12, and it was just kind of a big deal. But little things like that kind of add up to an experience. It's like, I use Android devices because it gives you a level of customizability that you do not get with an iPhone. Stop taking away my features, Google. Ooh, I want to throw in one more love because I actually forgot to put this down on paper. Screening calls. That's not really a Pixel 6 specific thing. It's all Pixels. But screening calls is like the best thing that's ever happened. Like, why doesn't everybody have this built into their phones? I don't understand. That's pretty much all I'm going to say on the subject. If you don't know what screening calls is, look that up. But it's super awesome. Again, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like down below. If you have any questions, make sure you comment. And as always, if you want to see more videos like this in the future, please consider subscribing to the channel. That was a mouthful. Thank you so much for watching. Take it easy.